Hey, what's going on, guys? Today we're going to be checking out a Muv-Luv kit, which we do from time to time, and I usually enjoy it. I definitely enjoy these larger variety Muv-Luv kits more than the smaller ones. I think they're definitely much nicer. This one is the recently released Fubuki Blast Guard model kit here in the non-scale line of Muv-Luv kits from Kotobukiya. Basically, this is like the kind of master grade Muv-Luv kits, whereas the other ones, I don't recall the scale offhand. Those ones are actually, I believe, scaled on the box, but they're smaller. Those are kind of more like high grades. These ones, the larger ones, are definitely a lot nicer, so this is what I would recommend, definitely. But there's certainly some really cool designs and some good options available in kind of both of Kotobukiya's lines of Muv-Luv kits, but these ones are pretty awesome. Let's go ahead and check this one out here for today's video. Alright, so we've got a lot of stuff in here in this big and quite heavy box too, I will say. An illustration there at the bottom of some of the characters from the anime, and then a big illustration here of the mecha right there on the front, looking really cool with this new equipment with the missile pods there up on the shoulders. On the ends of the box, we have just our titling there, a non-scale full action plastic model kit, and a close-up illustration here of the unit right there. And it is a really nicely detailed illustration, even has some markings and everything on there, which is pretty cool. On this side of the box, we have a look at the fully painted and decaled kit there, front and back, and then a closer look at some of the details like the missile pods there, some other weaponry that it has. If you guys are familiar with these model kits at all, you know that they usually have a lot of weaponry included, and that's certainly going to be the case with this one here as well. On the other side, here is a look at the kit, just completely unpainted, snap built straight out of the box without any paint on it. It's going to look like that. Here's a look at our included marking decals, so not a lot, but we have a few on there, and the list price here for this one is going to be 9,800 yen. And like I said, this box is big and feels pretty full, so we've got quite a few runners inside, and it's a pretty tight box. Okay, anyway, we'll take a look at all of our runners here in a moment. First, let's just take a quick look at the instruction manual. We've got the same illustration as the box art, just with a black background instead, which looks pretty cool there. And then on the back side, just the Muv-Luv logos. On the inside front cover, a big wall of text there about the 3rd generation tactical surface fighter, all in Japanese there. Over here on the other side, again, introduction to, I guess, some of the different pilots here, and then specifications about this unit right there. The next page is just going to get into our parts list, where you can see we are going to have some leftover parts, so just make sure to cut those off, leave those off to the side. Then it gets into the construction. That's going to be the bulk of our manual here, I think, until we get to the very end, where we've got our color guide over here on the one page, and then the decal guide, action pose, I guess. Decal guide is down here, but for those couple of decals that we have, basically just for the shoulders and the shield, essentially. But here's a couple more reference images there. For the decals, just going to be this small little decal sheet here with those numbers and the UN markings on it. That's pretty much it. We do also have one small little bagged pre-printed part here that has a little bit of green painted on there, metallic green there, for the visor on the face part, which will be very nice. Then getting into the runners here, we've got a polycap runner here, PC, 2 of those in black. We also have this one, PC2, another little small runner of some polycap ball joints in black as well. Runner A is going to be in this light blue, which is going to be our main color for the armor. Runner B is in this gray, which is going to be getting into some of the joint parts and hand parts, secondary color there. And runners C, D, and E are some more parts here in light blue for some more of that armor. So runner C, runner D here, and then runner E we've got 2 of for some more light blue parts. Runners F and G are a couple of smaller runners here. Runner F is in a fluorescent green. G is a couple of parts here in a kind of lighter gray. Runner H then is back to light blue for the remainder of our light blue armor pieces. Runners I and J are some more kind of frame and detail parts here in black. Runner J, we've got 2 of these, as you can see there. Runner K, we also have 2 of. It's in a little bit different color. It looks like just very dark, like almost like black as well, but it's in a little bit more of like a really dark brown kind of color, slightly different. Runner L, though, is some more parts here in black for the internal structure. Runner M is a big runner here in gunmetal that we have 2 of, so it's in this metallic gunmetal color for a bunch of the weapons and accessory bits, it looks like. Runner N is here in clear green. Runner O is a few little parts here in black. And then runner P we have 2 of is actually a few more parts in that light blue. Runner Q is in a dark purple, mostly parts here for the shield. Runner R is a few parts here in like a medium blue color. Runner S we have 2 of in this dark green for the missile pods on the shoulders. Runner T is in a medium gray color here. And then lastly, runner U is a couple more runners here in that darker blue color. And that's it for everything. As you can see, a lot of runners with this kit. Alright guys, here is the Fubuki all built up. Now you'll notice I don't have the missile pods on the top of the shoulders yet, and you'll see there's kind of a little hatch there on the top that you can remove in order to put those on there. We'll get to that once we talk about the accessories here in just a moment, but really awesome kit once again. Building one of these larger Muv-Luv kits always reminds me when I do of how cool these kits are and how nice they are, and how I really want to recommend them to you guys more often, just because the larger kits in particular are really nice. There's going to be some seam lines on there, and it's going to be missing some color apps a little bit here and there, but overall I think the overall design, the details, and just the construction on them is really cool, and we have a ton of accessories in here as well, so let's go ahead and get into it. And another thing to point out too is that even though you have this extra weight here at the back, you'd think that might give it difficulty in standing, but it can stand on its own just fine. That said, if you did want to plug this onto a base, and we will later for some action poses, going to be kind of hard to see because it's black, but underneath there's a little cap piece that we can remove, and there's a hard point for plugging this onto an action base or a Kotobukiya flying base. There we go. Once that's out of there, just going to give you that hard point there underneath the waist for putting it on the base. So, like I said, for equipping the missile equipment, we're going to remove this panel here on the top of the shoulder, and then we have this kind of additional black piece you'll have to plug onto there first, and then you also need to remove this little circle bit here off the side of the shoulder. Now, it's kind of, I think, probably going to be a little bit tricky to get that out of there, so if you did want to equip the missile equipment, I would just leave that part out from the beginning, but this little part here is what's going to be plugged onto the side there like that, and then we have our main missile pods, which are going to be plugged onto the top. Now obviously we're going to have two of these, and they're all molded in one color. We do have a seam line here on the bottom, but the top part is just going to expand out in both sides and then also open up like that. Now this center piece here is unfortunately all one piece. The missiles are not a separate piece, so I kind of wish that those would have been a separate piece, would have made them a lot easier to paint, but you will have to either mask or hand paint those in later on. So kind of really my only complaint about this is that I wish that was a separate piece. So even if you didn't want to paint, if it was a separate piece and then molded in red, would have been nice for the missiles, but c'est la vie, we don't have that. But we do have a lot of other really cool accessories here as well. Aside from that, we've got the shield, which does have some articulation here at the top. This kind of part right there bends. As you can see, I've got the holding hand for the shield already just connected onto the handle there, and there's 3 points where you can plug the handle onto this. I have it at the lowest position right now, but you can change that if you need. A really cool shield design here. Then we've got other weapons here, like the assault rifle. Now there's a couple of different ways that you can make this. We actually have 4 of these, and we have the parts to make 2 of them in this kind of heavier or longer form. So basically all you're going to do is just remove this part here at the front, remove this part here at the top, and slide this part onto the front there like that. So you could have 2 of the shorter type, 2 of the longer type, or you can leave them all shorter and have 4 of the shorter type there like that. Also, of course, got our 2 swords, which are again all molded in that same gunmetal color, but some really nice detail here on these as well. And then we've got 2 knives in here to use as well for the last of our weaponry. But aside from the weaponry just being really cool in the design, it's also really cool how it's equipped onto the kit. So starting off with the knives, this is going to be stored in this part, which is actually meant to be popping out of the side of the arm. So what we're going to do is, it's meant to be this part right here, but it doesn't actually like open up and transform. What you do is just part swap it, so you just pull this part off of there and plug this part on to make it look like that part is opened up, and now you have this articulated arm kind of coming out where you can grab the knife out of, and there is an articulation here in that it's attached via a ball joint, so you can move this around at the base, don't move it around too much, and then here at the end you can adjust the angle of that. So it's a really cool kind of gimmick to make it look like that part on the side of the arm there is opened up and the knife's popping out. And then for holding the swords, we have these attachment pieces that the sword is just going to fit into like that. Now you have open and closed versions of these. Basically, for when you want to have the sword stored on the kit, you're going to use the open one. Obviously the sword's going to be in there, but when you have the sword in hand, you can have this closed one displayed up here, and this is going to plug in right at the back side of the torso right there. That's going to look like that. And then, like I said, if you're having the sword actually on there, it's just an easy swap of that piece, and then it's just a matter of popping the sword into there. Now the problem that you're going to have is that it's going to be getting kind of crowded here at the back with everything, but it does look very cool. And so obviously you could just store one sword on there and leave the other side for a rifle, because we have the same type parts here. It's going to attach into the same point at the back, and you can also adjust the angle of this up and down. And when the rifle is in hand, you'll use this one, which shows the connection piece like kind of closed up, but when you want to swap that, you just kind of slide and pop this out, pop that in, and then there's a little tab in there that the rifle fits onto, so you can have 2 stored on the back and then 2 in hand, so you can actually use all 4 of your rifles at the same time. But if you didn't want to have the 2 on the back stored and you wanted to have them actually looking like they're in use, we have parts for that too. So this is basically going to be a part that's going to attach into the top, and then this mechanical arm comes around underneath like the armpit, and having a rifle plugged into there like that is going to work like this here. There we go, attached onto the back, and then it goes around and then comes out the front there like that. And there is a couple of points of articulation. You can rotate it here, you can also rotate it at the connection piece there at the back, so you can kind of adjust that as needed. But pretty cool that you can actually use 4 rifles at the same time with this one. Now, aside from the weapons, of course, we have different hand options, like the holding hand you saw on the shield a moment ago. We have closed fists. We also have these open hands here like this, which are very nicely detailed. And then we have 3 types of holding hands, and you do have 2 of each for the left and the right side. So a regular holding hand here for like the knife, and then you have one with a bent wrist here, which you can use for the knife or the sword there like that. And then we have one here with a bent wrist and also the trigger finger extended. This is the one you're going to use with the rifles, so lots of hand option parts there, which is always nice. All right, so aside from all of those accessories, I just want to talk a little bit about the kit itself. Like I said, there's going to be some color apps here and there missing from this, but overall I think the part separation is going to be really nice. There are going to be some seam lines here and there as well that you'll notice, but nothing really too bad. The pre-printed green for the visor catches the light pretty nicely. You also have those clear green parts in the chest, which aren't going to catch the light quite as nicely, so I would recommend maybe painting some silver or something in behind those clear parts just so they look a bit brighter. But what certainly does look bright is the neon green parts there in the knee joint right there. So as you can see, when we bend the knee, you have some separation of this armor panel at the back of the thigh and the front of the knee that are going to bend so that you can get a nice full range of movement here out of the knee. If I can get that around there, as you can see, you can get a pretty nice full bend there, and that all looks very cool. Down here at the ankles too, you have a nice range of movement just because of kind of a double joint. You have a ball joint at the foot, and then you have another joint up here kind of right in the middle of the shin where that's actually going to move. So that gives you a nice range of movement, and then up underneath the feet, nice full detail there. You have toe bend. It doesn't really point down too much. I wish it kind of would point down a little bit more, but it will point up like that, so that should look very good for some nice ground poses. And then also we have some movement here side to side. I do kind of wish that it maybe would go to the side a bit more, just because it's on a ball joint it is going to be a little bit limited. And there you can see another one of our clear green pieces right there at the front of the foot, accompanied by this very nice seam line down the front of the shin there. But again, this one does show a little bit brighter just because that clear green is set against this light blue, whereas these ones up here in the chest don't show as much because the part that they're in, the dark blue part, is a darker piece. But like with the knee up at the elbow here, we have a double joint as well, which doesn't give you like a really full bend, but it does give you some nice separation of this armor piece. The elbow piece at the back of the elbow does move when you move the elbow joint there, which is pretty cool. Otherwise, pretty standard. The wrists are on ball joints. The shoulder articulation, these are also on ball joints, so they're not going to move around too much. Because of the design of the arm, you can kind of only really bring it up to about here. The head is also just on a small ball joint, but just because of the design of that, you have a pretty good range of movement here for this, up and down, side to side there. And then these skirt sections are kind of interesting, as these parts here on the side will kind of move up and out of the way for you to be able to bring the leg up to the front there pretty nicely. And these parts here around at the back are on articulated arms there, as you can see, so you can kind of move these around any way that you want to as well, which is kind of useful because, like I said, the back can get kind of crowded once you have the weapons mounted up there. So being able to move these out of the way and adjust them for different poses does look very cool. And honestly, they're just such a really cool aspect of the design, so you want to be able to have those posed and featured nicely when you're posing the kit. So let's take a look at some different poses here with the kit. Obviously, with having a bunch of accessories in here, there's a lot of poses that we can do with this and a lot of different ways that you can choose to outfit it. So obviously, with this being the blast version, you're probably going to want to feature those missile pod equipment up on the shoulders, but obviously you don't have to. And like I said, with having so many options in here, there's certainly a lot of ways that you could choose to display this or customize it. You can also mix and match parts with some of the other kits as well, with some of the other weaponry available in some of the other kits. So like I said, this is I think maybe the second or third of the larger size Muv-Luv kits that I've built, and I always find it to be a really cool experience because they're really nice. It would take a little bit of work if you wanted to fully paint it up and do all the work to really make it look its best, just because there are going to be quite a few seam lines on there and stuff like that, but I think they do look really nice just straight out of the box. If you just wanted to maybe do a little bit of panel lining just to help bring out some of the details on it, maybe throw a couple decals on there as well, and then just give it some matte coat, I think it it'd be a really good looking model even without fully painting it, but maybe painting in a couple little details might also look pretty nice on these. But they're really cool kits, so I highly recommend them to you guys. I've never actually seen the series, so I don't have any connection to like the series at all. I just think that the mecha designs are cool. And if you do as well and you're looking for something a little bit different to build, if you're looking for something kind of unique, then I would recommend checking these kits out. There's actually quite a lot of different designs to choose from, and they're quite often on sale too, so you can usually find them. I mean, they're going to be at like MSRP, a little bit expensive maybe compared to like a similar Gunpla kit, for example, but again, for the uniqueness and all of the stuff that you get in the box, I think they're definitely worthwhile. So check them out. If you guys want to check some out for yourself, you can check the link in the video description to USA Gundam Store. We've got a bunch there on the site, as well as all sorts of other different Kotobukiya mecha models and everything else. You can check out the paints, tools, and supplies there as well. But let me know your guys' thoughts on this one. What do you think about the Muv-Luv kits? Have you built any? What do you think about them? Do you like the designs? For me, like I said, I think they're pretty cool. The articulation on these is pretty nice, so the posing options are certainly wide open there. You're not really going to be hindered by the articulation of them, which is nice, just because you do have a lot of accessories. And so if you are the kind of person that does like to change up your poses or like to do a lot of different poses with your kits, you're not going to be limited either by articulation or by options of accessories here with this one at all. So you have a lot of options there to play with. But that's going to do it for this video, guys. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts on the kit in the comment section below. If you'd also like to leave a like while you're here, or make sure that you're subscribed, that helps out a whole lot. I really appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much for all of your support. Till next time, hope y'all have a great day. I'll see y'all later. Bye, guys.